Hello everyone. Today we're going to start the process of solving one-step equations. Well, we've looked at expressions before and of how to solve expressions and equations using just numbers. Now we're going to add variables into the subject matter finally, and we're going to start solving for variables. So when we're solving equations, you always want to find the value of the variable that makes the equations true. So anytime it says solve the equation, you're always looking for the value of the variable that makes the equation true. In order to solve, you want to isolate that variable. So you want to get it all by itself. And then this is done by undoing the operations that are attached to the variable. And you'll kind of see what I mean when we go through examples. It's important to remember, and I'll say this several times throughout the lesson, anything you do to one side of the equation, you must do the same thing to the other, and that's because they're balanced. The equation must be balanced. If you do something to this side, then it doesn't equal the other side any longer. So in order to keep that balance, you have to do whatever operation you do to one, you have to do to the other. So here are some examples. All right, x minus 3 equals 2. We're just going to start with subtraction first. Well, we want to get x by itself. So in order to do that, we need to undo the subtraction. To undo the subtraction, you want to do the inverse operation. So you want to add 3 to both sides. So by adding 3 to both sides, I have x minus 3 plus 3. These 3's then cancel. So all I'm left with on the left side is x. On the right side, I now have 2 plus 3, which is 5. And this is how we're going to write our answers. So the solution to this equation is x equals 5. Now these are going to be some simple ones. I understand that you know in your head if you see a missing value, what minus 3 equals 2, you're going to know it's 5. But these problems are going to get a little more complex. So starting tomorrow, you'll be getting into multi-step equations where you might not be able to do that in your head quite as quickly. Same thing over here. We have b minus 3 equals negative 7. We want to add the 3 to both sides since we're subtracting. We're normally subtracting. We want to undo that. So we got to add. If we add 3, we cancel out that 3 there. So we're just left with b on the left side. Negative 7 plus 3 just gives us negative 4. So our answer is b equals negative 4. Now we're going to undo addition. So if we added 3 last time to get rid of the subtraction of 3, this time we're going to subtract 3 to get rid of the addition. We're always doing the inverse operation. Remember, whatever we do to one side, we must do the same thing to the other. So we subtract 3 from that side. We're left with only x on the left side because they cancel. 2 minus 3 gives us negative 1. Go into the next example. Again, we're adding 13 here. So we want to undo it to get x by itself. So we have to subtract 13 to undo the addition. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do the same thing to the other. X plus 13 minus 13 is just going to give us x. 27 minus 13 gives us 14. Now let's look at multiplication or division. In order to undo division, yep, you guessed it, we need to do multiplication. So in order to undo division, we need to do multiplication. We need to do the opposite or the inverse operation. So since I'm dividing by 3 here, I want to multiply by 3 to undo it. These will cancel. I'm left with x equals 2 times 3, which is 6. Because whatever I do to one side, I do the same thing to the other. The second example, b divided by 4 equals negative 9. Well, I must times both sides by 4 since I want to undo the division of 4. Negative 9 times 4 should give us negative 36. So B equals negative 36. Moving on. Now we have multiplication. So in order to undo multiplication, we're going to have to do division. So in this example here, we have 5 times x equals 20. In order to undo the multiplication and get the x by itself, we have to divide 5. All right, because we want to get this x by itself. 5 is what is attached. We want to get rid of that 5, so we have to divide 5. These 5's cancel. We have x equals 20 divided by 5, which is just 4. Again, I want to get rid of this 4, which is attached to the y. So I need to divide both sides by 4. Once I divide 4 by 4, they should cancel. I get y. Over here, 6.4 divided by 4, I believe should be 1.6. Hopefully we're following along. If you have any questions, you can ask in live class. We'll be doing a few more examples. The final step to this, we have, if we have a fraction, all right? So we're undoing a fraction. We can do this in one step. Okay, you could do it in two by undoing the division first. So you would multiply both sides by 5, and then you would have to undo the multiplication by dividing. But when we have fractions, we can do this in one step, which is pretty sweet. So if I have 4/5 x over here equals 28, if I want to multiply by the reciprocal here. So again, the opposite or the inverse. So if I multiply by the reciprocal, the 5's will cancel, the 4's will cancel. I'll be left with just one x, which is what I want. I want x by itself. So since I multiplied by 5/4 on that side, I have to do the same thing to this side. Multiply by 5 over 4. I'll just write that over 1 to make it easier. So x equals 28 over 1 times 5 over 4. If I do this, I'm going to just rewrite it down here. Since I'm multiplying, I can cancel like things. 4 goes into 28 7 times, leaving 1 down here. So x equals 35. If you plug 28 times 5 and then divide by 4 into your calculator, you would get the same answer. X equals 35. Again, over here, we want to undo the 2/3 w to get w by itself, so we want to multiply by 3/2. So if we multiply both sides by 3/2, these cancel, we get w equals 36. Remember, an equation must remain balanced. So whatever you do to one side, you must do the same thing to the other. And in order to solve and isolate that variable, you must undo the operation. So you have to do the inverse operation to get rid of it from the variable. Best of luck. Don't forget to do your lesson question and your CYUs.